Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man who has absolutely no problem getting to sleep when it's time to get up. It's Dale.
Ain't that the damn truth?
Yeah.
About 10 minutes before the alarm, boy, you can sleep good, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
Toss and turn and toss and turn and toss and turn and sleep like heck.
Yeah. I do my best sleeping between the times I hit the snooze button.
Then 13 times.
Yeah.
So why don't you just set your snooze for like midnight?
Yeah. Or if you could just...
Set the alarm for midnight and then just snooze it the rest of the way.
Yeah, or sleep in reverse. Yeah, sleep backwards. I don't know the best way to do that, but yeah, I do my best sleeping before it's time to get up. I know you do.
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. What's going on today, dude?
Oh, man, wore out, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, bud. Doing good. Rocking and rolling.
It ain't really the same old with all this stuff we got going on around here, is it?
Oh, man, I'll tell you, North Carolina, western part of North Carolina, man, it's just
terrible.
And people up there, they're suffering, man. And, you know, there's a lot of people up there helping, a lot of stuff going on. I see helicopters flying over here all the time.
Yeah.
Airplanes headed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got plenty of help up there. Hope they can get that place somewhat back to normal.
We can get them some supplies, man.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Get them what they need.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's just destruction.
Yeah.
Sad.
Done that, dude. I hate it for them. We're keeping them in our prayers, and hopefully they can get it resolved soon, and, yeah, get them something going.
Yeah, we're pretty grateful we didn't get no more than we did here.
Oh, yeah, just a few days without power.
Yeah, that ain't nothing compared to what they got.
It's gonna be years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
There was some folks complaining about being out of power, you know, this, and I'm like, look, you look around. Couple nights in your house without power ain't nothing to what they're doing.
No, I mean, some of them are flooded out. Houses floating down the river.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, town's gone. Lake Lure, gone.
Oh, crazy.
Yep. You got any good shout-outs, bud, or anybody you want to talk about before we get going?
Hey,
Dude.
look there. We got us a few of these coming in today. We're very, very, speaking of being grateful, we're very thankful for that.
We are grateful
We
for
have
that.
some brand new Apple 5-star
5-star.
podcast reviews. The first one comes from KD and MD. I guess that's Maryland. I don't know.
I would say, yeah.
Maybe it's just KD and MD. Who knows? Anyway, love these guys. 5 stars. Stumbled upon this podcast, and I'm so glad I did. Great host, great cases.
Man.
Short and sweet, and we love it.
Not to the point.
Right. We're going to double up today because we got a few.
Bring it on.
Is that cool, man?
But it's cool.
As Ricky Morton would say, that's cool.
It's cool.
This comes from Doyle the Great.
Doyle the Great.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Not Doyle the kind of good. It's Doyle the Great.
Yeah, just put it out there. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's right. 5 stars, exclamation point. I recently found this podcast due to their coverage of the Ace of Degree case and was immediately drawn in by their compassion. They cover cases I haven't heard anywhere else, and on the ones that I have seen extensive coverage, I learned new small tidbits of information that I haven't heard anywhere else. Or I think it says elsewhere, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Donnie and Dale really want justice for the victims and are passionate about spreading awareness and keeping their names alive. I love it when Donnie tells us in the intro, this case really pisses Dale off. Great podcast. So thanks, Doyle the Great.
Doyle the Great.
Yeah. So we get a little riled up on some of these sometimes. and
it
it does make for a good story, I guess. But
Doyle the Great would be a good band name.
yeah, maybe it is.
It could be. Never know.
Write us a song, Doyle.
But, yeah, if you want to be like those fine folks that went to Apple Podcast and left a 5-star rating review, you can, and it helps out a whole lot, man.
It does. It really does.
It really does. Because we got a good episode today, and when we get back, we got one that's going to piss Dale off.
Yeah.
All right, dude, we are back, and like I said, we got a good one that's going to piss you off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we are talking today about a lady by the name of Katelyn Markham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just to get into Katelyn a little bit, Dale, she was just days shy of turning 22 years old.
Right.
When she disappeared in August of 2011.
Yeah,
and,
not too long ago.
I know, and man, this girl was on her way to doing some good stuff.
Yes.
She was.
Brilliant.
And at the time of her disappearance, she was a student at the Art Institute of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And she was passionate about her artwork and what she did.
Graphic design, I think.
Yeah, there's a Dateline episode on this, and her dad described her, you know, early on in her life. drawing pictures of faces and stuff. You know how kids will just draw a circle with some
Smiley face kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, she would put details into stuff, eyebrows and dimples and stuff at 4 years old.
Right.
So she had
the eye, man.
Yeah, she did. And at the time Katelyn went missing, she was working 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm. And going to school.
Yes, and participating in an internship.
Right.
And by all accounts of everything I've read, she was a responsible person and a reliable employee.
Yeah, living on her own.
Yeah, in her own apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Katelyn's disappearance left both her inner circle and the investigators pretty baffled, man.
Yeah.
Yep. But after Katelyn was reported missing, it was determined that she was last seen alive by her fiancé, and his name was John Carter.
Right. Not to be confused with our own Channel 3 news reporter, John Carter.
Yeah, we've got a
Right here from Shibby.
Yeah, news anchor from Charlotte named John Carter, but yeah, not the same guy.
Right.
So on the evening of August 13th, 2011, John had went over to Katelyn's condo in Fairfield, Ohio, after she had just finished her day at work. And I'm pretty sure she was pretty tired. But there was a friend of Katelyn's also came over, and she was going to hang out with them, but she ended up leaving after she kind of sensed there was some tension between Katelyn and John. And the friend noticed that Katelyn seemed kind of quiet and was on her laptop, just wouldn't engage with anybody else.
Which is odd.
Yeah. And John would later say that her being quiet was due to some magic mushrooms that the two of them had taken earlier. And also, according to John, he left Katelyn's condo between 11 p.m. and midnight, and Dale, he was going to hang out with some friends who were having a bonfire.
Yeah.
Now, John and Katelyn, it was reported they continued to text throughout the night, with Katelyn sending her final text shortly before 1 a.m. And after that, Dale, she was never seen or heard from again. And after John had left this bonfire, he went to his own house.
With his mama's house.
Well, yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit. But he returned home, it was around 4 a.m. And at that time, he sent a good morning text to Katelyn, which is something he did pretty regular,
Yeah.
from what I read. Something she would be able to read when she got up.
Correct.
Yeah. And he sent it to her shortly before him going to sleep. And he slept the next day until about 4 or 4:30 when it was time for him to get up to go to his job.
Yes.
Because he worked at Papa John's. He was a delivery guy for Papa John's.
Yeah, he slept till like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I think.
Yeah, it was later that day. And this is when he noticed, when he got up, that Katelyn had not responded to his good morning text.
Correct.
And John said he continued to call and text her throughout the afternoon, but never got anything back from her.
Yeah, and at this point, he asked if he could leave work early to go check on her.
He did.
Something was going on.
So his boss let him go.
Yes.
And John, he went over to her apartment, and he used his own key to enter and get in.
Right.
And when he got there, nothing seemed out of place. Katelyn had a dog. The dog's name was Murphy. And the dog was found locked in an upstairs bedroom. And this wasn't the usual place Katelyn kept her dog, because when she wasn't there, she kept the dog in the bathroom. But the dog was locked in a bedroom upstairs.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah. And it also appeared that the dog had not been out for a while to go to the bathroom.
No, her dad said in an interview, so from what I took, her dad was there too. Because he said that when they went up to the bedroom, the dog had used the bathroom twice in the bedroom, so at least had been there that long.
A while.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if they were both there, or just John or just him. So it's kind of depends on where it's told.
Well, I'm sure they were both there at one point or another, but
Correct.
yeah, the dog had used the bathroom twice.
So I was saying he'd been locked in that room for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also they noticed that Katelyn's car was parked in its normal spot outside. But Katelyn was nowhere to be found. And her keys were there, her wallet and her ID and everything was there.
Everything but her phone.
Yes, her phone was gone.
Her and the phone, which is odd that everything else was there, I guess.
Yeah. So at this point, there were some worries that started to build.
Oh, sure.
And soon, John, the boyfriend, learned that Katelyn's friends and family members had not heard from her either. And he also heard that Katelyn had never shown up from her scheduled shift at Dave's Bridal. This was a like a formal wear type store that she worked at, bridal shop.
Yes.
So shortly before 8 p.m. that day she went missing, John called the police to report her missing. He called 911. And Dale, we've got a snippet of that 911 call right here.
Okay.
Hi, my name is John Carter. I am calling. I know that you're not supposed to report a missing person before 24 hours, but my fiance is missing. I can't find her anywhere. And the Sacred Heart Festival is going on right up the street, and there's a lot of questionable people there, and it's just kind of... I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll have somebody meet you there.
All right. Now, the search got underway. And over the next few weeks, there were volunteers passing out flyers, and there were teams surrounding areas trying to find anything of Katelyn.
Right. Again, let's get it going.
Yeah. But they were scouring the area looking for anything of Katelyn, Dale, and nothing was found.
Nope.
So over time, Katelyn's case went cold.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. The police were following up on tips and conducting interviews, but they seemingly got nowhere to locating her. So then, moving way ahead a couple years, on April the 7th, 2013, human remains were found at Big Cedar Creek in Cedar Grove, Indiana. This was across the state line.
Yeah, it's only about 30 miles from her condo, though.
Yes.
So it's pretty close, kind of like us going to South Carolina, I guess.
And what happened was, there was a couple that was searching for scrap metal in the area. And that's when they spotted something that looked like a human jawbone wrapped in a grocery bag.
Ooh.
That would be a sight to see, wouldn't it?
That's definitely not scrap metal.
No. So the police were called out, and a search of the area got underway in the discovery of more remains. And dental records later confirmed that the remains belonged to Katelyn Markham.
So this is, what, 2 years later?
2 years later.
Gotcha.
So to this day, Katelyn's cause of death had never been determined up to that point.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard at this point.
But it was pretty obvious somebody had taken her life, man. It was
sure.
considered a homicide at that point.
Well, I don't think she went out in the woods and wrapped herself up in a bag.
I know, but Katelyn's family members, they were pretty devastated when they learned that she'd been the victim of a homicide.
Right.
Yeah, but they were also not incredibly surprised by the news. When she first went missing, Katelyn's loved ones, they sort of hoped that she would be found safe.
Of course.
And as the weeks turned into months without any sign of her at all, their hopes sort of faded, man.
Yeah.
So eventually, Katelyn's family came to believe that she had been murdered. And once those beliefs were confirmed in April of 2013, there were a lot of questions.
Yeah, just more questions keep coming.
Yeah, and the one thing they asked was who killed Katelyn?
Who did it and why? Come on, man.
And there were many theories that emerged over the years, but no arrests were made in the case. And investigators, they uncovered a lot of information about Katelyn's life before she was killed. So we're going to get into a little bit of information on who Katelyn was exactly.
Right.
Now, Katelyn Markham, it was described that she was loved by all of her family members. She was just a very outgoing, warm, positive, energetic person.
You know, it's sad that we've done so many cases, and this is always the way it is, it seems. The people who are on their way up, so strong, doing all this. She's working 2 jobs, putting herself through school. Well, I don't know if she's putting herself through school, but she's working 2 jobs, doing school, and she's also interning, living on her own. I mean, she's going places.
Yes.
It's sad how many of these cases that the victims in the story are like that.
She had a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was driven, man.
No doubt about it. And in 2011, when she went missing, she had a busy life.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a student at the Art Institute of Ohio, and there were reports saying that she was dedicated to this.
Working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Like we just said.
And Katelyn was also engaged to this John Carter that we mentioned.
Yeah, they'd been together about 6 years. I think they met in high school and just had been together since.
And shortly before her disappearance, they had gotten engaged.
Right, about a year before, I think.
Yeah, about a year before.
Somewhere in there.
But Katelyn and John, they didn't live together. John lived with his mom and dad. And Katelyn had her own place there in Fairfield.
Right.
But John did have a key to her apartment and would frequently spend time there.
Right, well, that's not unusual, I don't think.
And according to John, he and Katelyn were looking forward to their future.
Yeah. They were planning on moving to Colorado and getting married, or after they get married.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was their plan.
Right.
And I think she had already had a dress picked out. And she had showed it to her dad, and her dad thought it was just absolutely beautiful.
That comes a little perk of working at the bridal shop, probably.
I would say so, yeah. Yeah, she had time, probably had time to look at all the stuff coming in.
Yeah.
But John and Katelyn, they would frequently call and text each other when they were not together.
Right. Well, who don't?
Young love.
Yeah.
And John said that when Katelyn didn't respond to any of his texts on August the 14th of 2011, he knew something was a little off.
Right.
John, like we said, he called 911 when he discovered Katelyn to be missing. And some believe he kind of sounded, genuinely concerned on the phone. But there were some other people who disagreed with this.
Yeah, you can make up your own mind. You heard it.
So, Dale, there was a lot of time passed.
Yeah, almost 10 years.
Yeah, and John was not named as a suspect in Katelyn's disappearance and or murder. And there were inevitably people who always believed he was responsible for her death.
So you got both sides.
Yeah, you got people saying he was, people saying he wasn't.
Well, he's the last one to see her, so he's got to be number one at first.
Mm-hmm. But when John called 911 to report Katelyn missing, the dispatcher asked if he and Katelyn had been having any issues in their relationship, to which he responded, not at all.
Right.
And there was a friend of Katelyn's. Her name was Michelle Feist, or Michelle Feast, Feist, however you want to pronounce it. But she sort of contradicted this a little bit. She said that, actually she told Crime Watch Daily that Katelyn and John had a pretty heated argument just 2 days before she went missing.
That was at that festival, right?
Yes. We're going to talk a little bit about that festival. Now, according to Michelle, John and Katelyn got into an argument on August the 12th, 2011, over some financial struggles. I'm sure Katelyn, living on her own, she had to watch every penny and dime she made.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She had a pretty nice place she was living in, looked like.
Yeah, because John and Katelyn, they were attending this festival at a local church. It was called the Sacred Heart Festival. And from what I read online, they had this festival every year in August.
It's kind of shocking to me because at first I had no idea it was a church event. Especially when you hear the 911 call and he's talking about questionable people being at this festival. I thought it was like a regular festival or like a big fair or something.
Yeah.
Where people come through town and set up and then leave or whatever.
County fair,
something
state
like
fair,
that.
something. Yeah.
So when it says a church event, I'm like, wait a minute, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, but I'm sure a lot of people came into that festival.
Oh, but it's not like,
it's not like a big
right.
state fair or county fair kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had attended this local church festival, and by Katelyn's friend, like we said, her name was Michelle, and her account, the argument between John and Katelyn carried over into this event. And eventually Katelyn got upset and ended up leaving this festival early.
Yes, one report was that he had spent like over $100 buying raffle tickets or something, and it was just blowing money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Katelyn had probably, like we said, probably watching every dime she made to put herself through school and keeping up her apartment.
Right.
And it's completely possible that John and Katelyn resolved their issue before she vanished.
Yeah, I guess.
It could have been.
Could have been.
But there was a friend visiting the couple at Katelyn's apartment, and
yeah, that was the night that he came in and he was wondering why she was just sitting on the couch not talking when she's usually she would jump up and yell his name and run over and give him a hug because she's that kind of bubbly personality. And this time she was just sitting on the couch just like a lump.
Yeah.
And that's when he said it was because he was taking mushrooms.
Mm-hmm. And many have questioned John's story about the mushrooms.
Right.
And Katelyn arrived home from work approximately 15 minutes before the friend came over. And even if she had taken mushrooms, as soon as she walked through the door, it's very unlikely that she would be feeling any of the effects that quick.
And nothing would kicked in yet.
And there were some that questioned if Katelyn even took the mushrooms at all.
Right.
And she just returned home from a long day of work. She was tired, and it seemed unlikely that she wanted to experience, the effects of mushrooms.
She probably just wanted to chill out. She probably didn't want to come home and party.
Just come sit down for a little bit and just,
relax.
Now, I get it. Yeah. And there was another aspect of John's story that some people found odd, was the bonfire he went to.
Mm-hmm.
John told investigators that he left Katelyn's apartment around 11 p.m. on August the 13th to meet up with friends. He brought a bag full of documents belonging to Katelyn to burn in a fire because I think they were financial statements or something, from what I understand, and she was wanting him to destroy them.
And I think this has also been said that these things were a point of argument as well, because she had asked him to do this over and over, and he just kept putting it off because he just, as they said, it was just lazy.
Yeah.
It was just something she'd asked him to do, and then for some reason he just kept putting it off.
Yeah, because instead of throwing them away, she didn't have a shredder, so she was wanting John to burn them.
Right. It's kind of odd that you would take them to a party to burn.
Yeah.
I mean, you go out back and burn them or something, but to a bonfire where it's a big party, why would you take legal documents to? That's odd.
Yeah.
To me.
Hey, you got to fire your mind for burning my papers here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, but knowing John, I wouldn't put it past him.
Right. Now, I mean, if it was just like 2 or 3 people hanging out, just a little core circle there or something, that wouldn't be as weird. But if it's a party or something, that'd be odd.
Yeah. But some people find this to be an odd explanation as to why he destroyed these papers.
Yeah, me too.
But it's also didn't seem like too much of a stretch at first. And he told investigators that he often ran errands for Katelyn.
He probably did, because she's working all the time and he ain't doing nothing but sleeping and delivering a few pizzas in the evening.
That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
Probably gaming and laying them around his mom and daddy's house.
In his drawers.
Yeah. And smoking dope, smoking marijuana.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of speculation about John, and it appears that investigators eventually began to focus their attention elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, John spoke out publicly several times about Katelyn's case, and he continued to deny any involvement in her death.
Yeah.
So we're moving up to 2018, man, and there was a new potential suspect that came on the investigators' radar.
All right.
And this was a man named Michael Strauss, and he had been charged for murdering 23-year-old Ellie Week in Westchester, Ohio. Now, Westchester, Ohio is located about 45 minutes away from Fairfield, Ohio, where Katelyn was killed.
Right.
And there are some similarities between these two cases.
Okay, makes sense.
The bodies of both Katelyn and Ellie were found in a field. And Ellie's cause of death was asphyxiation. And she was found with a plastic bag over her head, while Katelyn's cause of death was undetermined, and her skull was also found in a plastic bag. So it's a little similarities going on there.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
And the one thing that truly made Strauss seemed like a viable suspect was that he knew Katelyn. Sources say that Strauss and John Carter had mutual friends. Several people sent investigators a picture on social media that included both John and this Strauss guy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, and the picture we have here of this Michael Strauss guy, he's kind of a hippie-looking guy. He's a white guy, big beard and dreads.
Yeah.
Tied up on top of his head. So they could have been friends there with the way he's talking about doing mushrooms, that kind of stuff, just for the way he looks.
Could have been.
I mean, I don't want to strap a label on somebody because of the way they look, but that's the way he looks.
Yeah, that's a mugshot of what it looks like we got here.
Yeah.
There were many reasons to doubt that this Strauss was involved in Katelyn's murder. Ellie Week and Strauss were involved in a romantic relationship at some point prior to Ellie's murder. And he had apparently been stalking her for months beforehand. But there is no evidence to suggest that Strauss had ever stalked Katelyn, nor is there any physical evidence that connects him to Katelyn's case.
So basically looking at him because the two murders look very similar.
Yeah, and it's relatively close together.
Yeah.
Now, moving up to February of 2023, this ain't long ago.
No.
Police announced that they had arrested a man by the name of Jonathan Palmerton. They arrested him on perjury charges in relation to Katelyn's case. Now, this Palmerton, he is a resident of Fairfield, Ohio, and he was arrested on February the 17th of 2023. Now, this arrest came after a search warrant was issued at his home. And at the time of his arrest, police announced that Palmerton lied in connection to the investigation of Katelyn's disappearance.
Now I think they got, they got an eye on this guy because there was some possible eyewitnesses came about from these two teenagers who were in John's neighborhood early on August 14th of 2011. That was the night that she had vanished originally. And then after their skeletal remains came, that they found them, these two kids had went to authorities and told them they had snuck out to go to a party that night around 2 o'clock. And they noticed that 2 cars slowly pulled up to Carter's home with their lights off. And about 5 minutes later, somebody went into the garage, and then the 2 cars drove off with the lights off. And then after they got around the corner, they turned the lights off and went. And one of these cars was Palmerton, and the others were Carter's. So that's how they got the link to this guy. And then when they went to talk to him, that's when they started putting some stuff together, I think.
Yeah, they put this together after Katelyn's remains were found and said, hey, we saw something.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure they didn't say that to begin with because they probably didn't really think about it. But then when the remains come out and they go, wait, that was that same night. That's kind of a little odd that they come in here with their lights off and then go out with the lights off and then turn them back on. So we don't know what they were doing. But, yeah, it was definitely John Carter's car and Palmerton's car.
Yeah. Didn't you say those 2 guys that spotted them were partying or something that night?
They were 2 teenagers. They were sneaking out to go to a party.
Okay.
So that's probably why they didn't say something to begin with. They didn't want to tell on themselves. But when they realized how serious this is, then, that probably doesn't really matter anymore,
Yeah, it's a bigger deal.
Yeah, old lots, yeah.
Yeah. But now there was another update in 2023. And this is when John Carter, the former fiance of Katelyn, was finally arrested. And Dale, he was charged with 2 counts of felony murder during 2023. And at the time of John's arrest, very little details were revealed. But many had suspected that John was involved from the very beginning, like we talked about.
Right.
And many felt this was Katelyn's time to get justice. And after John was charged, the prosecution ultimately decided to drop the charges against this John Palmerton in May of 2023.
So I wonder if he told them some stuff.
He could have. It was reported that Palmerton's trial could cause a conflict if it took place before John Carter's trial. And the prosecutor, his name was Mike G. Summer. That's how it's pronounced, G-S-O-M-E-R.
Okay.
G. Summer. He said, in short, the prosecution has an irreconcilable conflict procedurally and ethically with respect to forcing a trial to go forward. And with respect to Mr. Palmerton and forcing him into uncompromising situation that created as a result of the grand jury's indictment. So in June of 2024, just this year, just a couple of 3 months ago of this recording, there was a detective. His name was Joe Nerlinger, and a sergeant of the Butler County Police Department. His name was Rob Whitlock. They told reporters that the case against John Carter was mostly circumstantial.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Both investigators stated they believed that the 911 call John made to report Katelyn missing was a complete fabrication. And both also believe that John is a psychopath.
Right. And then from the time that she had passed away till this time, they had found video of a girl he was dating, and I guess somebody sent it to him, and where he was just reaming her out. He's just real going off the handle, real wild like. And so they're saying basically there was 2 different Johns, one he portrayed out to everybody else, and then one that comes out when you don't want to know it. And then they had also found some papers in one of Carter's journals, and it said, like, deep down I love her, you want to kill her, but I love her, she must die. So he's talking to himself and writing it down.
Seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then he goes on to say, I know I'll bury the body in the backyard. No, I'll bury it under the trailer and wait until the grass grows over it and leave before anyone reports it missing. So it's just weird. I mean, he's just kind of a, like you said, psychopath, I think.
But that video you talked about, him going off on that girl, that was his wife, because he had gotten married.
Oh.
He had gotten married and also had a kid with her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he had moved on with his life.
Right.
I mean, it'd been years, so
yeah,
I get it. But yeah, that video came out, and he was going off on her, man.
Yeah. So even though they built this case up against him, like you said, it's mostly circumstantial, but they still pretty sure that they had the right guy.
Yeah. That's right.
So they was definitely going to go on to trial with it.
So that same June of 2024, John Carter eventually took a plea deal initiated by his defense team.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. They said that the prosecution was there, and the defense team come up and just tapped him on the shoulder and asked him if they want to discuss a possibility of some kind of plea. And I think that basically the prosecutors were like, what are we going to talk about? Because really, if you take a chance to go to trial and it's all circumstantial, he may just walk.
Yeah.
You know, even if they pretty much know he did it, it's hard to prove.
Yeah.
So this right here would be, if he took a plea, it's basically going to be a definite something they get out of it.
Yeah. There's going to be some kind of justice.
Yeah.
So this plea, it allowed John to plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter instead of murder, citing that Katelyn died during a misdemeanor assault. And the prosecution reported that they feel satisfied that John Carter admitted to being responsible for Katelyn Markham's death.
Yeah. And G. Summer it basically said, you know, I got an acceptance of, I got the acceptance of responsibility. You know, so basically they got him to admit to it, that he did do it. And I think that meant a lot to people.
But now get this. This is what pisses Dale off right here.
Mm-hmm.
This involuntary manslaughter conviction, it allowed John to receive a short sentence.
No, it's a maximum sentence now.
But it is a maximum.
In Ohio.
Yeah. But what they could do to him, they give him the maximum.
Yeah. Max.
Yes. So on July the 18th of 2024, this year of this recording, John Carter was sentenced to a maximum
Of?
3 years in prison.
Whew.
Yeah. This is the maximum allowed for the charges he pleaded guilty to.
Yeah, piece of...
But Katelyn's family, they were quite upset with the sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Katelyn's father, Dave Markham, he spoke at the sentencing, stating, I do not feel 3 years is justice, not for Katelyn, not for her sister, not for me.
Not for anybody.
Yeah, her friends or the entire community that has ached and grieved alongside us.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't do for me. I have a hard time taking that.
You
I
know,
mean, I know you got your admittance of guilt. Yeah, I did it, but damn, 3 years.
and he may not serve all that.
No.
No. He may get half of that, serve half of that.
I'll be like, okay, I tell you what, you do your 3. When you get out, I'll do my 3.
Yeah.
Because I want the same deal when they find your head in the woods or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not right. I mean,
No,
I
it's
know
not right.
I know their hands are tied by the law, and the law is the law, and that's
Yeah.
all you can do and give them the max. But I don't know.
But like you said, if they go to trial,
He
they
could,
may not get nothing.
right? Because they really didn't have nothing on him.
No.
I mean, they kind of knew what was going on and what happened, and we still don't really know what happened because he never said.
No, never did. It's just a sad situation because Katelyn, she was moving up. She was going places, doing things. You know, one thing that we didn't mention, that before she was murdered and they were setting to move to Colorado.
Yeah.
This is something that sort of struck me a little bit. John's mother went to them took them to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And she was going to co-sign for them to get a credit card.
Right.
You know, I guess to help them move to Colorado. And
You need some. That would give you a little financial security,
Yeah, pay for
just in case you need some.
pay for expenses and stuff.
Yeah, you never know.
But yeah, John's mom was going to co-sign this. And it was just a couple days after this application was filled out.
Well, while they're filling it out, when she's getting ready to sign it over, she looked over at Katelyn and go, "You are taking my boy to Colorado. Yeah, this is for y'all."
Yeah.
And she said she didn't smile. She didn't, just kind of sneered, like she was like, looked back at her, kind of giving her a little sideways look, like, "Wait a minute, are you done?"
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it was just a couple days after this application was filled out and turned in, I guess going through the process, Katelyn went back to the bank by herself
mm-hmm.
and withdrew this application.
Right.
So it is my belief and your belief, I think, we've talked about this, that Katelyn was breaking up with John.
I think so.
Yeah. She was getting rid of him.
I think she was cutting anger loose,
Yeah.
because that's all he was, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have had a good relationship when they met in high school, and you don't really think about what you're going to do later. But now she's doing this, working 2 jobs, busting her butt, going to school, trying to make something out of herself. And he's definitely not.
Yeah, because in high school they were kids, and it was reported they had the same type of humor. You know, they liked the same things, enjoyed doing the same things.
Right.
But they grew in different ways.
Yeah.
She was moving up, getting ready for her life and making something of herself, and John was still delivering pizzas, living with his mom and daddy.
Right. Sleeping all day.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was that. So, yeah, and he wasn't having it.
Yeah, I think while she was sitting on the couch that night, I don't think it had nothing to do with no mushrooms. I think they was probably got in, they were into it, and they were talking, and he knew what was coming. And when their friend left to go wherever he was going, they really got into it, and then something happened
Yeah,
that
she
night.
broke up with him, and he killed her.
Yep.
Yeah. It's sad.
Very sad.
Yeah, she was a beautiful girl, man. She's a very unique looking, beautiful girl.
Yeah. You can tell she's big into the art stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was like, she's just a different person.
Yeah.
The weird colors people didn't use, she used them, you know what I mean? She just took stuff and saw it in her own eyes and made something beautiful out of it.
Yeah, I saw an interview with her art teacher from high school and said she would push the edge of everything she did. It was, she would take chances and be daring in her artwork.
Right. And it was a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, very cool, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good. All right, bud, that is the story of Katelyn Markham.
Sad.
Beautiful girl, gone. All right, bud, we're going to get out here, man.
All right, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.